In the closing scenes of Alien and The Thing, Ripley quietly slips into a spacesuit while MacReady lights a stick of dynamite, both preparing for the final confrontation, possibly to die. These films are set in vastly different times and landscapes: a distant barren moon and wintry Antarctica. Made just 3 years apart, both have gone on to become landmark films inducted into the National Film Registry. But more importantly, both films tell stories about two teams: a motley crew of truckers in space, an isolated group of research scientists who encounter something hostile in our world, extraterrestrial life, and things go sideways faster than anyone anticipated. Because in these contained worlds, civilization itself is under attack, and it's up to these teams to stop the perfect organisms. And each film is investigating something deeper. Not what the creature is, but what happens to us when we're no longer in control. There's a lot to learn when we hold seemingly opposite films next to one another. This is the language of cinema. This is Film to Film. Let's take a look at Alien and The Thing. Zeta Reticuli System 2122. This is a commercial towing vessel, Nostromo. It has stopped 39 light years from Earth. Mother, the AI control system, wakes the crew from hypersleep. That's Captain A.J. Dallas, Officers Kane, Ripley, and Ash, Navigator M.J. Lambert, and Engineers Parker and Brett. Not soldiers, not explorers, workers, halfway home and ready to be done. Dallas consults with Mother. Why are they up early? There's a beacon from a nearby moon.
It repeats at intervals of 12 seconds.
Human.
Unknown.
This is a commercial ship, not a rescue ship.
Right.
They don't like it, but they're required to investigate.
All right, we're going in.
Yeah, we're going in.
Antarctica, 1982. A Norwegian helicopter slices through the sky, over remote mountain cliffs in pursuit of this dog. Running for its life, evading gunfire, it makes its way to U.S. Outpost 31, where 12 American researchers are stationed. That's MacReady and Childs, Blair and Windows, Palmer and Bennings, Cooper and Knowles, Gary and Fuchs, Norris and Clark. Isolated for months, these men are used to routine. The helicopter lands, but one of the Norwegians mishandles an explosive, and the copter blows. The other Norwegian continues after the dog and accidentally shoots Bennings. Gary's hand is forced, and he shoots the Norwegian. After the panic, the dog is brought inside, and MacReady and Dr. Cooper fly to the Norwegian camp to investigate. A strange beacon to crazed Norwegians with no answers. The Nostromo detaches from its refinery, descends, and lands on the surface of Acheron. Dallas, Kane, and Lambert head out on foot to trace the signal. Ash watches from the ship. Acheron is blue,
Can't see a goddamn thing.
brutal, and barren. Then this. A derelict,
Ash, can you see this?
an alien ship.
Yes, I can.
So the team decides to climb inside. Burned out and eerie,
Hey, sweet!
MacReady and Cooper move through the abandoned Norwegian station. Inside, they find research papers and video documentation. A man frozen in a chair with his throat cut, a block of ice where something was removed. Strange. And this,
What is that?
a scorched, human-shaped thing.
Is that a man in there?
Ripley continues to decode the transmission.
Ash, that transmission doesn't look like an SOS.
Well, what is it then?
It looks like a warning.
And the questions only deepen as both teams search for answers. Inside the cockpit of the alien craft, the crew finds this. A giant alien, fossilized,
Drones have been out way.
with a hole through its chest.
Exploded from inside.
Kane spots an opening
Lambert, come on over here.
and climbs down. Below,
What the hell is this?
thousands of eggs. Cautiously, he moves closer. What is this? Despite its grotesque appearance, the team examines the burned organism. Intestines, heart.
Seem to be normal.
So, what are these things? Meanwhile,
Clark, will you put this mutt with the others where it belongs?
the Norwegian dog has been roaming free. Clark puts it in the kennel with the other dogs. The ground team returns,
Open the hatch.
but Ripley refuses to let them in.
You know the quarantine procedure.
24 hours for decontamination.
Defiantly, Ash opens the door. Inside the kennel, the Norwegian dog is doing this. Mutating, attacking the other dogs. Clark panics and quickly alerts the team.
I don't know what the hell's in there, but it's weird and pissed off, whatever it is.
They arrive and freeze. This thing is massive. And what the hell is it? Some part of it escapes,
Get your ass over here!
but there's no time to figure it
Damn
out.
it, Charles, towards you!
It's gotta be stopped. Now. Without realizing what they've done, both crews have brought the organism inside. So now the scientists must figure out what they're dealing with.
My God.
The facehugger can't be removed. Not without killing Kane. In fact, it's keeping him alive.
It's feeding him oxygen. If we remove it, it could kill him.
Dallas doesn't care.
I won't even take that chance. Just cut it off and run.
They can't. Its blood is acid. Dr. Blair performs an autopsy on whatever that thing was.
Here's an organism that imitates other life forms, and it imitates them perfectly. We got to it before it had time to finish imitating these dogs.
It has a funny habit of shedding his cells and replacing them with polarized silicon.
What does it mean?
Well, it's an interesting combination of elements, making him a tough little son of a bitch.
And you let him in.
And Blair questions Clark.
How long were you alone with that dog?
What the hell you looking at me like that for?
The first seed of paranoia is planted.
I don't know.
Then,
Where is it?
without warning, the facehugger is off Kane and found dead. What happened?
All right, go.
At Outpost 31, the crew reviews the Norwegian tapes. What were they doing out there?
They're planning thermite charges.
McCready and Norris fly out to the Norwegian research site.
Half a mile, due east!
Then,
How you doing?
miraculously,
Terrific. Next silly question.
Kane wakes up.
Anyway, where are we?
Right here.
We're on our way home.
Yeah, back to the old freezerinos.
They can head home.
Oh, no. Gotta have something to eat before we go back.
One more meal before bedtime, I'm buying.
So, we have 2 dead aliens, and both crews appear to be safe. Everything's perfectly fine. Right? Kane is awake. All seems fine. They're having a nice supper. Until Kane starts to cough. Maybe something more. Then this. Before anyone can react, the alien jets off. McCready and Norris reach the crash site and climb down into the pit. Like the Nostromo crew, they find a downed alien spacecraft. Norris surmises,
I'd say the ice that's buried in is 100,000 years old, at least.
and remember that strange block of ice at the Norwegian camp? Well, here's the spot where the alien froze, and the Norwegians cut it out. In Alien, Dallas divides up the crew to find the little alien embryo, and Ripley, Parker, and Brett close in on it. But no,
Wait, don't let him go!
just a cat.
What the hell are you doing, man?
It's a cat.
Blair runs a simulation and finds there's a 75% probability that one of the men is already infected. If it reaches humanity, it'll take about 3 years to consume everyone. He grabs his gun.
I just cannot believe any of this voodoo bullshit.
Because it's different than us, see?
And here's
Because it's from outer space. What do you want from me? Ask him.
where the films start to split.
You buy any of this, Blair?
One turns inward, towards each other. The other turns outward,
We had to bag it, man. Now we might pick it up on the track again.
towards the creature.
You get him, we'll go on.
Brett moves into the damp Claw Bay,
Come on, baby.
looking for Jones the cat. Unfortunately for him, something else is there. Ripley and Parker arrive too late. Windows and Bennings bag up the alien waste, and Windows steps out,
You got the keys. Get him from Gary.
There's something wrong with Blair.
while Fuchs
He's locked himself in his room and he won't answer the door.
voices his concern about Blair, then reads from Blair's notebook.
Chameleon strikes in the dark.
So is Blair cracking up or what?
McCready, there is still cellular activity in these burned remains. They're not dead yet.
Blair's not quite dead cell theory is quickly proven correct when Windows returns and finds Bennings being consumed. Bennings stumbles into the night, but he's no longer Bennings. McCready knows what to do. Without hesitation, he torches him.
This son of a bitch is huge.
There was one of those things out there trying to imitate him, Gary.
Both crews arrive at the same solution:
Can you rig 3 or 4 incinerator units?
burn it. So they dig a snow pit, douse it with petrol, and watch it all burn. Dallas will go into the air vent after the alien, while the researchers wonder,
Where's Blair?
Dallas crawls through the cramped air vent, the crew tracking his every move. He climbs down into the third junction
And it's gotta be around there somewhere.
when the comms fail,
It's moving right towards you.
leaving him vulnerable to...
Dallas?
Back at Post 31, McCready discovers the copter has been smashed up. Then, a gunshot. Inside, Blair's losing his mind, yelling and shooting at everyone. He got to the copter and killed the remaining dogs. They rush him, subdue him, and lock him in the tool shed.
Run protection, Blair.
How you doing, old boy?
I don't know who to trust.
Trust's a tough thing to come by these days.
So now,
So how do we know who's human?
they're marooned until spring.
If I was an imitation, a perfect imitation, how would you know if it was really me?
Doc floats this idea.
Could take a sample of each person's blood. Could mix it with uncontaminated blood. I suppose if there's a reaction, we'd know who isn't human.
Great idea, but
Somebody got to the blood!
What?
Gary had the only key.
Somebody could have lifted it off me.
Oh, come on. That key ring of yours is always hooked to your belt.
Gary can no longer be trusted. And Dallas is gone.
We have to stick together.
So Ripley and McCready take charge
We're gonna find out who's who.
and immediately trust erodes.
Nobody trusts anybody now.
McCready memorializes his thoughts,
We're all very tired.
while Ripley consults with Mother. It reveals Special Order 937. Weyland Corporation wants the alien. The crew is expendable. In The Thing, a lot happens quickly.
Is it Fuchs?
Fuchs is found burned. MacReady and Knowles go to MacReady's office to figure out why the light's on. But only Knowles returns.
Close that door.
He says,
I cut him loose.
MacReady?
He's one of them.
The Thing has gotten to MacReady. So when MacReady returns, he's ready to defend himself.
Anyone messes with me and the whole camp goes.
There is an explanation for this.
Ripley goes after Ash, who knows more than he's letting on.
Explanation! Ash?
Then Ash turns on her, tossing her across the room with the emotional complexity of a plastic cup. He's trying to kill her. Special Order 937. Parker tries pulling him off, but Ash somehow is strong enough to manhandle them both. The men tackle MacReady, but he wiggles free. Norris topples over. It looks like he's having a heart attack. So Doc starts to work on him. Desperate, he pulls out the defibrillator, and sure enough, Norris ain't Norris. Meanwhile, Ash is doing this. While the Thing grows and transforms into this thing. MacReady burns the Thing, but Norris's head, this. Then Parker whacks Ash's head off his shoulders. So that's 2 headless enemies.
It's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot.
Norris's head grows antennae and legs and tries to scurry away.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
MacReady fries it. Ripley and MacReady both need clarity.
Ash!
What exactly are they dealing with?
We're gonna find out who's the Thing.
So MacReady decides to draw everyone's blood.
The blood from one of you things won't obey when it's attacked. Crawl away from a hot needle, say.
Windows is first.
Now I'll show you what I already
Then
know.
MacReady tests himself. The Nostromo team boots Ash back up.
What was your special order?
Bring back life form. Priority 1. All other priorities rescinded.
Palmer now.
Palmer is infected, but MacReady can't get the flamethrower to ignite. Palmer Thing does everything it can to escape.
Still don't understand what you're dealing with, Steve. Perfect. All goes.
Windows tries to stop it, but MacReady finally blasts it. And out in the open air, he finishes it with a stick of dynamite.
I admire its purity, survival, and unclouded by conscience or delusions of morality.
MacReady tests Knowles,
Let's do it.
then Childs. There's one person left to test. Gary. He's human.
I know you gentlemen have been through a lot. And when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!
When an audience pays to see a picture like this, what do they pay for?
To get the pants scared off him.
And what scares the human race more than any other single thing? The dark, of course. And why? Because the dark has a life of its own. In the dark, all sorts of things come alive.
So why, almost 50 years later, do we keep coming back to these 2 films?
How come they don't freeze it?
Because they tap into 2 of our oldest fears. Alien embraces the dark, space, the unknown, and Ridley Scott makes it horrifyingly beautiful. The derelict, the space jockey, the face hugger, the xenomorph. Something this frightening shouldn't be so exquisite. But what's more remarkable is it's restraint, in both style and story. From Dan O'Banion's conception to Walter Hill's iconic minimalistic rewrite, Ron Cobb's ship designs, H.R. Giger's nightmarish imaginings, and this remarkable ensemble cast, all brought together under Sir Ridley Scott. John Carpenter, another master craftsman, approaches it from the opposite direction. He turns on the lights, and he makes us look at one another. Working in the tradition of Howard Hawks, very American, he takes a group of isolated men.
He's my friend.
And forces them to depend on one another.
You gotta burn the rest of them.
To survive. And trust slowly erodes. Michael Plogg's iconic storyboards lead us to Rob Bottin and Stan Winston giving that paranoia a grotesque physical form. It's art. If Alien is restrained, the thing walks to the edge of excess. Its creature refuses to maintain a single form because the unknowable thing is us. And perhaps that's why we tell ourselves horror stories.
That's the line.
To give shape to the things that frighten us.
Go. Fright. Proud. Showing its fangs.
To sit together in the dark and, for a few hours, make the unknowable known.
The girl screaming. Claw marks down her cheeks.
Or at least
Cut.
entertaining.
When we throw the switches, how long before the ship goes?
10 minutes.
New plan. Ripley and team are going to blow up the Nostromo with the alien in it, and they'll use the escape pod to get away.
You two go down, get all the coolant you can carry.
While Ripley preps, she hears. She leaves to search for the cat,
Jones?
as Parker and Lambert load canisters as quickly as they can. McCready, Gary, and Knowles head out to give Blair the blood test, while Childs stays behind to watch the station. Inside, Blair's nowhere to be found.
How do you get out?
But there's this, a tunnel beneath the floorboards. Ripley finds Jones, then hears this.
Get out of the way, man! You're gonna kill us!
The alien has found Parker and Lambert. She runs, hoping to save them, but their fate is sealed. Beneath the tool shed, the men find this, Blair's makeshift spacecraft.
Where was he trying to go? Any place but here.
Upstairs, Knowles spots Childs leaving the station.
I think I saw Childs outside the main entrance of the camp.
Within seconds, the power goes out.
What can we do? What can we do?
McCready pieces it together.
Whether we make it or not, we can't let the thing freeze again. Maybe we'll just warm things up a little around here.
In both films, in order to survive, everything must be destroyed. Annihilation. Ripley initiates the self-destruct system, raising 4 nuclear bolt heads. Then, cautiously, she heads back to the escape pod, stumbling upon this, the alien's nest. Then, something even more horrifying. Dallas and Brett. Dallas begs for mercy. Ripley finishes it. The men blow up the alien spaceship, then smash a caterpillar through the walls of the center and begin dynamiting the place, room by room. Ripley makes it to the escape pod Narcissus and jets off, just as the Nostromo is obliterated by several nuclear explosions, pushing Ripley deeper into space. into safety.
Generator's gone.
Back at the station,
Any way we can fix it?
the men are out of options.
It's gone, McCready.
We gotta bring this whole place right down into the ice.
So they split up and plant dynamite everywhere. Suddenly, Blair's back. Gary doesn't stand a chance. Ripley readies her hypersleep pod, strips down, preparing for a long, peaceful rest. When Knowles hears something too, moves curiously towards it, and never returns.
How's it coming in there?
One by one, crew member by crew member, they're all gone. It's down to Ripley
I said, how's it?
and McCready. So, how's it end? Ripley backpedals into the locker, slides into a spacesuit, grabs the harpoon gun. She cautiously inches towards the control panel and begins hitting the alien with noxious gas, smoking it out. She patiently waits for her moment. She smashes the airlock, which whips the alien out into the void, but it catches hold of the doorframe, and Ripley lets it have it. Suddenly alone, rattled, McCready lights the fuse on the stick of dynamite. Then, the floorboards ripple up like an angry wave. The thing snatches the detonator and rises tall before McCready in all its grotesque glory. McCready makes his move, retrieves the stick of dynamite, does this awesome move, and then says,
Yeah, fuck you too!
the alien is still attached to the pod. Ripley moves quickly, fires up the thrusters, and torches the xenomorph. Beyond exhausted, McCready saunters through the burned out wreckage, settles, pulls out a bottle of scotch. Then, Childs reappears, flamethrower aimed at McCready.
Did you kill it?
Where were you, Charles?
We got lost in the storm.
Either man could be.
How will we make it?
Maybe we should.
Kane, Lambert, Parker, Brett, Ash, and Captain Dallas are dead. This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo. Signing off.
Alien ends with resolution. Survival.
Well,
while the thing concludes in.
What do we do?
Ambiguity.
Why don't we just
Paranoia.
wait here for a little while?
Two exhausted men
See what happens.
sharing swigs of scotch. If you're like me and you love exploring cinematic dialogue, well, this is Film to Film.
Right.
There's a lot more to come. And please, subscribe, like, please leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think. I'll be back for more. Thanks.